Hello, Ken here, the Watcher. Welcome to the Watcher Chronicles. Today's Monday, May 6th. And I was watching some videos yesterday. There's this thing with William Barr, this threat by Nancy Pelosi to have him arrested and frog marched to the Congress. And even jailed. This is very serious. Um, she may have the power and authority to do this. The Capitol Police are the police force of the House. So she probably has the authority to arrest him, maybe even arrest Donald Trump. Whether or not that will cause a constitutional crisis is yet to be seen. I know if I'm President Trump, nobody's coming to arrest me from the House of Representatives. He's protected by the Marines. They have an oath to protect him. And if they try to arrest Donald Trump, it might start off a civil war. And I think that's what Democrats want, because their hope to keep from being exposed as the corrupt criminal organization that they are, in cahoots with the deep state, was that Mueller would give them everything they need to get rid of Trump. Well, that didn't work out, and they're desperate. They're desperate enough to start a civil war in this country, and I believe they want to try to arrest William Barr and Donald Trump in order to start a civil war, so that they can go on they can stage a hot coup and literally overthrow the country and arrest Trump, arrest Pence, and Pelosi actually install herself as president, as the third in line to the presidency. So this is very dangerous. This is very dangerous, and what we need the military to step in. We need the military to step in and round up all these criminals in the deep state, in Congress, whatever party. It don't matter. Let the chips fall where they may. I want all these disgusting, corrupt criminals out of Washington, and I want our country restored. And I think, and I've been saying for probably a decade, that I think we're past a point where we can save this country through the election process and through the constitutional process. We actually need the military to step in, if there are patriotic, loyal people in the military, to step in and round these people up and take them to tribunals. And, I know this Q person has been hinting at that, but I think that was all a psyop. They want to see where the leaks are and the intelligence is leaking out to the people. I think they used this Q thing to see where the information is flowing to, so they know who to shut down on YouTube and Facebook and all these other social media outlets. But I think that's what we really need. And if that doesn't happen, I don't know. I mean, Trump's trying, but one man can't bring down this cabal. I mean, this is so deep, and others and myself have been warning people since the 1990s that they're. I remember when Clinton was president, and most people ignored. He did things open. I mean, they even reported on the things that he did that was treasonous, and people didn't even care because the economy was booming, and People had more money in their pockets, and he even bragged on TV. People have more money in their pockets. They're not worried about my personal life. But Bill Clinton was bringing in spies from Eastern Europe. He opened up you can use the State Department to grant visas to foreigners who do business, and politicians and things like that who frequently come in and out of the country. So the State Department can issue a couple hundred or a couple thousand visas a year. And that comes straight from the Secretary of State. And so Clinton was using that to bring in spies from Russia and different places. And they're all through our deep state. We have spies within. And he did that. He literally took over. He literally took over the country back in the 1990s. The first thing he did when he came in, he wasn't in office very long, months, if that, when Hillary went into the FBI and gathered up all the files they had on him, her, and all the files they could round up on heads of media and other politicians and things like that, in order to secure himself. And people just ignored that. What do you think they got all these FBI files for? You think just their own? To protect themselves from prosecution concerning their own crimes? No, they got the goods on everybody. Why do you think Clinton had this phony push with the United Nations? You got United Nations authorization to unmask bank accounts in Switzerland under the premise that there's lost and stolen Jewish Holocaust victims' artifacts and money and stuff, and we need to find these things. And it was all about unmasking all the secret accounts of politicians and business owners and media moguls and things like that is what they did in Switzerland. This goes deep. And this thing about Bush, you people who are on this Bush is a murderer, he staged 9/11 bull crap. That's a psyop, just like this thing about Trump collusion. It was Bush collusion with 9/11. Don't you see the pattern? It was Nixon collusion. It was Reagan collusion with Iran-Contra. It was George Bush Sr. collusion with Lincoln Savings Alone. It was all deep state crimes that they pin on the politicians, on whoever gets into office, so that they can control them and force them to continue. In case you haven't noticed, this country has continued the same path since the late Bush administration, George H.W. Bush administration, no matter who's in office. And you don't see a pattern there? I do, but I have a gift for it. And I'm going to tell you what happened with the Bushes. And the Bushes, they're New World Order people. They are. But what is going on now is a different branch of the New World Order. The New World Order has been taken over by very, very evil, corrupt people. And the Bush family wasn't in on that. They're not in with these George Soros people. They weren't even in with the Clintons. Bill Clinton was the governor of Arkansas. And in Arkansas, there's an Aryan mafia that runs Arkansas. It just so happens that the Iran-Contra affair, and it wasn't a secret that we sent supplies down to Nicaragua to help the rebels overthrow the regime down there. That was no secret. Reagan was asked about it while he was campaigning, and that we should send help down there. So Iran-Contra, to get those supplies down there, the CIA used the mafia. They used a mafia who already had an organization set up that CIA knows was trafficking drugs from Nicaragua. They used this mafia out of Arkansas, where Bill Clinton was running the show, to smuggle these arms down to the Contras. So Bill Clinton knew about it. So he knew about the Iran-Contra affair before it ever came out. And and he knew he could pin it on Bush. And that's why Bush didn't get reelected. He really didn't even campaign. I remember how enthusiastic he was when he ran in '88, wearing his hard hat and going out to construction sites and stuff like that. And then in '92, when he ran again, he seemed very frustrated and he acted like he didn't even want to run. And he was being blackmailed into allowing the Clintons to take over. The Clintons took the power away from the Bushes, who were a very powerful family. When you run the CIA, you got the goods on everybody. So Bush had his power. The power he had is that he had the goods on everybody. Not that he was evil, although he oversaw a lot of evil things that he really didn't have control over, because there's other people pulling the strings, But he was being blackmailed. So the Bush family was being blackmailed, and the Clintons used them. Bush Jr. was put into the presidency because Clinton wanted him there. Because Clinton had the goods on the Bushes, and he could keep them under his thumb. So as long as there was a Bush in the White House, the Clintons were running the country. That's why you went Bush, Clinton, Bush, and then they tried to get Clinton in, they couldn't, so they got this puppet from Chicago, this street agitator, Barack Obama, and because he agreed to do whatever they said, So this baloney that Barack Obama, this all comes back to Barack Obama, that's, think about that. Think about that. You think deep state corruption, which first raised its head back in the 60s with the assassination of JFK, you think it just started with Barack Obama? I mean, that's laughable. But you know what? If you could take all this deep state corruption, wrap it up into one nice little neat package, and place on the shoulders of the first black American president, who the heck's going to go after him? It's Barack Obama. I mean, they let him do what they had an agreement. They let him do what he wanted to do as far as pushing his Muslim agenda, as long as he just left the Clintons alone, let them do what they wanted to do. And that was the agreement to make him president. If Hillary couldn't be president, and they wanted somebody in there they know they can control. And then it went back. Hillary at this point in this last election, 2016, who was the media pushing? They really weren't even pushing Hillary. They were pushing Jeb Bush. They knew that after 8 years of Obama, that people were ready to revolt, and they wasn't going to allow Hillary, because by then, the Clintons had already had this reputation of being corrupt people. So it was back to the Bushes, and it didn't work out. It didn't work out, so they had to come up with this plan to either blackmail Trump and bring him under their control, or remove him from office. Well, they haven't been able to bring him under their control, but he hasn't been able to accomplish anything. The military-industrial complex is still waging wars at will, starting wars, waging wars, and spending trillions of our dollars if not on their budget, on wars that have additional funding outside the Pentagon budget. And that's the only thing that Congress has passed. They've only passed stuff that forwards the deep state agenda of wars and more wars and feeding trillions of dollars into the military-industrial complex. That's why they don't want a wall. You build a wall, that's not. You don't need the military-industrial complex to build a wall. You can hire construction companies in the private sector. They don't want that. They want helicopters, military-industrial complex. They want things that you can buy. They want drones, military-industrial complex. They want better armor, better guns, better equipment for the Border Patrol, military-industrial complex. They've come out and said it on both sides. That's what we really want. Well, we don't need a wall. We can put in more. And George W. Bush, I lived down there in Laredo on the border of Mexico in Laredo, Texas, for years, and he put everything down there. He put drones down there. He put black helicopters that are. Man, they got these helicopters that hold their position by GPS. They just sit there and hover. I don't care what the weather is. They don't move. They stay right there. And they got all kind of night vision, infrared vision, every kind of vision you can imagine. He bought swamp buggies for the Rio Grande, ATVs, four-wheel drives out the yin-yang. He put 7,000 more Border Patrol agents on the border, and he spent a lot of money on that border, but it was all military-industrial complex stuff. It was all gadgets and equipment and technology, and that's what they want. That's why they don't want a wall. You build a wall, you're done. And plus, you're hiring private contractors. You're not hiring the military-industrial complex. You're not hiring my family, Ames Industries. You're not hiring them to develop equipment and build it, and all these other military contractors. So that's what all this is about. And the corruption goes way back. My God, Eisenhower warned us about the military-industrial complex way back in the 50s. And that's been who's running this country, the military-industrial complex. And they have a culture where, you go try and apply for the CIA or FBI. They have a culture. They have insiders. They have their own schools in the Beltway where politicians and people who are already in a deep state, where they send their children to these private schools, and they go from these private schools to private colleges and into the deep state. It's a culture. And unless you're a genius, you're not getting in to deep state. It's a very tight-knit, closed circle, inside the Beltway. This is very, very deep, and just look at all the deaths of people who have tried to uncover things, testify against the Clintons or really anybody else. We know about the ones who testify against the Clintons because that part leaks out into social media. But every day there's people who get killed, who aren't part of a lawsuit, aren't part of a legal proceeding. They're just out there doing their job, and they see something that they shouldn't, and they get killed. And we need in order to stop this deep state, we need to defund and go after and stop this organized assassination apparatus that the deep state has. They have just secret military grade weaponry and soldiers and assassins that go after people. These people are trained somewhere. They're paid by somebody. And we need to get to this. Forget about, Comey and all those. They're just puppets. They're not the deep state. They're the empty suit that said, "Hey, I'll do it," and so they put him in there, and and they start pushing buttons and stroking pens. That's all they are. There is a system that breeds, raises, educates, trains, conditions mentally, emotionally these people to be hardcore deep state officials and assassins and spies, and other types of agents. And we need to stop that apparatus. We need to cut the snake off at the head. And all this about Comey and Clinton and all of that, that's just a bunch of grandstanding. The Republicans are in on this too. A lot of them don't want to be, but the system's bigger than them. They know they can be taken out at any time. And so they give the appearance that they're tough and there's corruptions on the Democrats' side, but yet they won't fight the Democrats. You look at what the Democrats are doing right now with William Barr. You see the Republicans doing stuff like that? You see the Republicans going after, threatening to arrest Hillary because she won't come before the Congress to testify under oath, threatening to arrest Comey or anybody else because they won't testify under oath in an open hearing. And this thing about the Mueller report, think about this. Most of you don't know. I have a degree in criminal justice, so I know what they're doing. This Mueller report, there's a lot of information in it that could lead to investigations. And because of that, it has to be protected. You have in criminal justice, in the criminal justice system, you have what's called an evidence chain of custody. Evidence has to be handled a certain way and protected all the way up and through the indictment, the investigation, and the prosecution process. It has to be protected. You go throwing around this classified information and uncovering it, and you break the chain of custody. You get that out to Congress and to the media and over the airwaves, and it's no good in a court of law. And that's what they want. This is true obstruction of justice, what the House is doing right now. They are demanding that the entire unredacted Mueller report be released. They are trying to force Barr, William Barr, to break the law by breaking the evidence chain of custody, so that all the information that has been gathered up and buried in this report by design by Mueller then becomes impermissible in a court of law for prosecution. And that's what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to do. I said from the beginning, people right now, they're just starting to uncover things that I've been saying for 2 years. I have a gift to see these things, to recognize, patterns, even subliminal messages, hidden agendas, ulterior motives, things like I could even interpret dreams and visions, things like that. I just have a gift. God has given me a gift for these things, and because of that, I could see way down the road where things are going. And as soon as Bob Mueller was appointed, the very next day, I call this a witch hunt, but I said it's more than a witch hunt. Bob Mueller was brought in to do two things. One, to threaten the Trump administration, to force them to back off and not be able to take control of his own Department of Justice and FBI. And two, to gather all of the evidence of all the deep state crimes over the last couple of presidencies, and bury them. Gather the evidence and either destroy it or bury it in a report that they can get sealed by a judge and get gag orders issued. And I predicted back then, 2 years ago, that everything that a Trump associate is accused of is related, is because they have something, a business transaction or something with a bank that has corrupt ties to somebody in the deep state, and then they'll go and they'll accuse that Trump associate of the crime, and then gather all the evidence of the criminality, the criminal actions of the deep state, and call their own criminals, the perpetrators, as witnesses who cooperate with each other and accuse the Trump associate and frame him for the crime. Give the witnesses who are the perpetrators immunity from prosecution, or hire them as attorney, so they have attorney-client privilege, so they can't testify against each other, or hire them as investigators because obviously they know where to go to look for the evidence because it's their crimes. And that's what he's been doing for 2 years. And I've been saying it. I've been screaming from the rooftops, on Facebook, on everywhere for 2 years. That's what he's doing. And the fact that the Republicans never caught on in 2 years, even Sean Hannity, proves that this whole witch hunt thing is all a cover. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's the Republicans' way of dissolving themselves from responsibility, accusing the Democrats and getting votes. When they're just as big of a part of it. Because they know all the crimes that have been committed in the deep state. You think they don't know? They're all part of it. They're all robbing the country blind. All of them. Republicans too. That's why they won't cooperate with Trump. And I've been saying since last summer, Sean Hannity, everybody loves Sean Hannity. He's the biggest fraud in the conservative side of the Republican Party. He knows what's going on. He knows, but he keeps on beating this witch drum because it gets him ratings, and he makes millions of dollars. But he knows. They all know, because they all know. They know what's going on inside Washington. If I know it, I know Sean Hannity knows it. He's not that stupid. So, so they're just using the grandstand. And just calling for hearings and stuff like that. You don't call for hearings. You call for the Attorney General to clamp down and investigate. When you call for hearings, that's just slow walking it. That's slow walking and tying everything up just so that you can get your money's worth in the next election. And that's all that is. If Republicans like Nunes and these other ones, they should be demanding that Bill Barr investigate this, that, and the other. But there's nothing to investigate. Bob Mueller accused Trump associates of every crime that they have committed. And the reason why they want to go after Trump's tax returns, they know Trump donated to the Clinton Foundation. And they need to bury those crimes yet. So they want to pin it on Trump or people in his organization, and then bury all the evidence, and exonerate the Clintons. Can you imagine Hillary Clinton being a witness against Donald Trump, a witness with immunity of her own crime while accusing Trump? That's what they want to do with the Clinton Foundation, because they know that he has donated to it in the past. That's why they want his tax returns. That's why they want his financial records. Because, like I said, anybody who has any remote connection to any entity with which the deep state criminals have a connection, they want to use them as a scapegoat. And that's what Bob Mueller has been doing. He's been creating scapegoats while gathering and either burying or destroying evidence. And now he wants to get it all sealed up. And so now So that if Bill Barr comes out and releases the Mueller report unredacted, then none of these deep state crimes will be able to be prosecuted. They won't have the evidence, and that's what they want. I mean, that's what they want. And then and the Republicans know this. They know this. So now you'll have Republicans start to whine pretty soon. They'll start to whine. Well, how come this isn't being investigated? How come that Pfizer report? We got to investigate that Pfizer report and the emails and all that. They'll call for it. And when they do finally open up investigations, there won't be evidence because it's all been buried in the Mueller report. And the whole Mueller report is going to be just rendered useless in a court of law. And that's the whole purpose of the Mueller investigation, to gather up all the evidence of all the crimes of the deep state and then render that impermissible in a court of law to go after any of those people. Either by keeping that information tied up in investigations perpetually until another Democrat gets in the White House, or destroying the chain of custody by demand and obstructing justice. So there you have it. Thank you for watching. You'll get a deeper perspective here than you'll get anywhere. And thank you for watching. If you like the what you saw here, press like, and if you're a first time watcher, please subscribe and hit the notification.